You're here, man. Listen, I'm here.
How's it going, man?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
Doing all right. You want me mask or no mask? Here.
No,
Next question, yeah.
We've been getting COVID tested, so because I have class starting in 2 weeks, so I have to make sure that when we interact with people, they're good. So,
Class? What class?
Vandy. So I'm at Vanderbilt. I'm in Divinity School now. So I was thinking last time we talked,
Yeah.
I hadn't started yet, but I'm in Vandy.
Because, I forget exactly what all we talked about. I just knew we had good conversations.
It was a lot,
so,
man.
Yeah.
It was a lot. You dropped a lot of weight, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, still running?
No. So my feet hurt a lot. So I stopped running. Just doing a lot of biking or elliptical. I do play basketball on Saturdays, but that's about it.
Yeah.
You're looking good, too.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
I think right after we met, I hyperextended my ankle,
Okay.
and yeah.
Which part
So it was
of the ankle? Like just going too far left, right? Or?
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was more the tendons
Okay.
around it, and they suffer because of it. They suffer like some hard inflammation
Yeah.
and whatnot. And so I was in a boot for 2 months.
Oof. Yeah.
2 months, and it really hasn't been right since. So I don't run too much anymore.
It's not easy to run if it starts from the floor up. So
Yeah, so when the ankle messed up, it was kind of like, So put Chicago on hold, and so I'm just not starting back training now.
Weren't you going back and forth to Chicago or something like that?
Yeah, so we were going to run the Chicago Marathon.
That's right.
But we traveled a lot. Last year it stopped.
Yeah.
We normally travel a lot.
So, for anybody who does watch this, for the 10 people that do watch it, we did meet at the high school track.
Oh, we're
And
already
just,
recording.
Yeah, it's going. It's just yeah. We just met, talked for I guess politics and exercise, and because at that time it was very
Tension.
a lot of tension going on.
Yeah.
But also, you do a lot of religious stuff. I just forget.
I'm a pastor.
That's one of the things. Yeah.
So we're church planners. Yeah, me and my wife.
So what church are you leading, or?
Yeah, so we're planting Capacity, which is here in Nashville.
Okay.
And so we're about, say, 6 months into the launch of
Okay.
the plant.
Nice.
So really new. We started in
Was
COVID.
this right after or right before?
So
talked?
I think we were already in the process, but COVID happened, and so COVID kind of put a break on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And some churches have launched since that time. We took a more, I guess, restrained approach towards it.
Yeah. Because you all were trying to do online stuff as well, right?
Yeah, so our online piece is partially launched. I wouldn't say we're 100%.
Yeah.
But we share and we do Bible studies online.
Okay.
But I would say it's coming along. 2021 will launch everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, what do y'all have in the works? What are y'all planning?
Oh, so we just finished a meeting. So we're planning out the rest of 2021. So the physical location in Nashville will launch in October.
Okay, nice.
Maybe sooner.
If everything goes according to plan.
If
and
everything
nothing,
goes according to plan, maybe sooner. Online will launch before that. We're looking around May
Okay.
or so. And it's going to be a hybrid model. So
You got to test waters and
yeah,
see.
test the waters. I mean, the hybrid model is you may start one way, but you make it open all the way around, right? So the online campus is constantly running.
Okay.
You're constantly running. You can't get away from the local church because you need the local assembling of people. People need resources. People need connection, need interaction. When you have an online community, it allows you to touch people who may not be connected to churches throughout or in rural areas, or may be hearing a message that is not life-giving to them.
Or it may even just be introverts
Maybe
that
introverts
can't be around people.
can't be around people, and they're just like, hey, I want to check something out. So we're trying to build a space where you can come get a word, but interact with people, do a community, feel, and then if you want to talk or gather, then figure out how can we host people in a safe way, once a quarter or once a month in the area.
So what were you doing before this? Where you moved here, I assume?
Yeah, so before this, I was in retail for 13 years.
Are we talking Abercrombie and Fitch, Aeropostale?
No. So I did Target, Macy's, Saks.
Okay, all right.
So
Are they all owned by the same people?
No.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I went from retail, we call it big box.
Yep.
So I went from big box, which was Target, which would be like your Target, your Walmarts. And big box also means like doing over a certain threshold of annual business.
Okay.
Right? And so like a J. Crew and...
Rest in peace. Filed for bankruptcy.
J. Crew, Brooks Brothers, those are more like niche
Yeah.
markets. Big box means like you're trying to incorporate as many people as you can. So you have clothing, grocery, all of that, and it's in literally like a big box. This is where the term.
So what were you doing?
So I was operations, HR,
Okay.
a GM, and then an assistant GM for.
Love it, hate it. How long did you do it?
It had it's days. I think when I first got into it, I really loved it because of the retail is so fast paced.
Yeah.
Right, and so if you think of retail just as the people that you see stocking the shelves and the cashiers or the security guard, you're only seeing like such a small fragmented piece.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things
business
going behind the scenes to make sure everything's lined up correctly and how the customers view everything.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on from a management perspective. You're always planning 3-4 months in advance.
Yeah.
And so if you're planning for the current week, you're already like behind.
Yeah.
And so in a retailer now, they're planning for spring. In the spring, they're planning for, right now you're planning for resort. Then you're planning for...
Resort?
Yeah. So resort is like destination travelers. People go to Florida. It's like right after Christmas. Retirees go to Florida. This is when people are getting like their gear ready. That's when you see a lot more white in stores.
Yep.
And so
what is this in Nashville? Is this out of Nashville? Where were you?
So I was in Atlanta,
Okay.
Jersey, Philadelphia,
Okay.
Plymouth Meeting, which is a part of Philadelphia.
Okay. Plymouth sounds a little familiar for that area.
And then Nashville. So I stopped at Saks because I just felt like I was called to something different now.
Okay.
You know, retail is very grinding.
Yeah.
Like it's so fast paced that you really forget. You stop looking at months. You stop looking at days.
So it was definitely a career, not a job.
It was a career, not a job. I realized like I would wake up in January, and then when I fell asleep, it would be December.
It's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your life revolved around Christmas.
Yeah.
You know,
that
holidays.
I believe.
And many people who do it for a long time, you realize like you just lose track of time. Like time doesn't really exist in your mind anymore.
It's just how much did you accomplish?
How much did you accomplish?
Yeah.
And it's an area that's never satisfied. Like it's never.
And always evolving too, because trends change and
Always
people
evolving.
change.
People change. I would say it's more steady than people think it is.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't change as much.
Yeah.
As you think like the last big thing was online. But once you figured out online and customer trends, because people don't really change like that.
Yeah.
Like, people think that we change, but people don't really change like that.
If you're not in your teens, everybody stays the same.
Yeah, like men come in and buy a lot of stuff at one time.
It's like, I just need a V-neck, please.
Yeah, you
That's
need a
it.
V-neck.
Yeah.
It's not very price conscious. Most of the time, just come in, get in and out.
Yeah. And then they have the same shirt for 40 years.
Yeah, same shirt. So, I mean, I guess the last big change in retail was that men were the biggest shoppers than women.
Really?
Yeah, that was like the last big change.
What happened there? When did that change? Or
oh, man, probably like...
Did women just move online? Or
08, women moved online. Women run through clothes so much faster. And so it's always looking for a bargain.
Okay.
Like, that's your bargain shopper. She's usually coming in looking for the kids and then thinking of herself secondary.
Okay, so what she's getting is going to be on the cheaper end.
Yeah, what she's getting is going to be on the cheaper end because she's thinking about the whole family.
Yeah. Because the kid gets the nice pair of overalls for the winter.
Right.
She gets the sundress and clearance.
Yep. And so then the dad comes in, the husband, whoever, the male, the bachelor comes in, and they go buy the suit, or they go buy the name brand, or the nicer things. The pair of shoes that are like $300, that's going to last a couple of years. And so, that's why you see so much men's fashion popping up now. That's why it's such a big push.
It does. It makes sense for sure. Because I will say, even maybe it's just a gradual into my 30s. It's just like I take a little more pride in it. I actually just bagged up clothes and was handing them out to people who are less fortunate.
Yeah.
So were you burnt? What part burnt you out? Obviously, the years just went by, and you felt you had the calling. Was it one specific day, or is there any trigger in your mind?
Two things happened. One, I think we have a very mixed, I would say almost egotistical view of what calling is.
Okay.
I would say more so American because we're so individualized.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
Right. And so what you're always looking for is for this big for the call. Like you're looking for this big like epiphany, like what is my purpose? Like why am I supposed to be here? Who am I supposed to help? Who am I supposed to do? And I heard a really good sermon one day that just changed my mind on all of that.
Okay.
Like I was so stressed out in my 20s trying to figure out what my purpose was. Mm-hmm. What was I supposed to do with my life? And feeling so hopeless and abandoned and forgotten.
Yeah.
Right? And never really feeling achieving anything. And
what like a pawn in the game.
Like a pawn in the game. What retail did was it gave me a chance to not even have to think about life.
Yeah.
Like it was always so many marks to hit.
Yeah.
And as long as I hit those benchmarks, then I was successful.
Achieving something.
I was achieving something, right?
Yeah.
And so sermon came talking about our call is bigger than what we do.
Yeah.
Right? And that our call is executed in various roles. So if you're called to touch people, then whatever industry you're in, you can touch people. God will just use a different role to impact how you touch people.
It's still up to you to make it happen.
It's still up to you to make it happen,
those
right?
moves.
It's still up to you to go out and talk to people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't impact, right? And so if your call is to do ministry, your ministry may not necessarily be in the pulpit or the church. You may be called to do ministry in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Right? And that looks very different, but it also could be more impactful. Because you're out touching people who aren't in the boat with you. You're literally casting your net out into a sea.
And then some will get by,
Some will get by, but you're getting as many fish as you can possibly get. And it is practical. Yeah. Because now you're having to think about how you interact with people, how you talk to people, how you measure your response with people. How do you handle your finances? How do you handle your marriage? When we're in the church or we're in Christian settings, we only have to do that for 90 to 120 minutes.
Yeah. And then it's like, I'll see you next week.
Right. But when you're at work, you're having to do that for 84 minutes for some people.
Yep.
They're working the full, 7 days a week.
Yep.
At minimum, 40 hours a week.
Yep.
If it's a full time, and 20.
If you're good at your job, 50 hours a week minimum.
Yeah. And so that's a whole different level. And if you think about it, the marketplace is what Paul did.
So what happened for you in 2020 that clicked a few things to help you recognize or understand people more, or be able to reach out in a different way?
Oh man.
And I understand the technology sense to kind of do it, but
I would think that, I mean, my approach to reaching out to people started more in 2016,
okay,
15.
okay,
I had just gotten promoted to AGM, assistant store manager
okay,
of a large store
okay.
in Macy's, and I was the first person of color to ever have that position.
It's awesome.
And so going in, I understood clearly that how I worked impacted a lot more people than just me. And I also understood that because when you get to a certain position within certain organizations, right, and the AGM is the equivalent to being like a VP
Okay,
for a company.
it's huge.
Yeah. And so we're talking about like $70 million is what I was managing.
Okay, it's not just the cash register at the end of the day by any means. Yeah.
Right. So it's
Oh,
like,
you lost $60?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like 70 million. I had something like 210 people report directly to me.
it's a lot. Yeah.
Right. And out of 210, I had 15 managers.
Okay.
So it was like
A lot of meetings.
a lot of meetings, a lot
yeah.
of talking to people. And the one thing that I realized was that people are afraid to talk and they think that you have power.
Okay.
Right.
Go into that a little bit more.
Well, it's kind of like, have you ever met someone who was like, so it's kind of like your parents. Think of your parents, right? Like your parents, they say, hey, I want you to have like this really candid conversation with me and talk to
Yeah.
me and be
Even
like,
the birds and the bees talk.
be
and-
birds and
yeah.
the bees and be completely honest, and I want to know all about your life, right?
Yeah.
But the moment that you say something that they disagree with, or they find out something that can have consequences for you,
They shell up. They
shell
down.
up, or they also have the option or the authority to put you on punishment, or ground you,
Yeah.
or cut you off, right?
Yes.
And that's a bias of power and influence, right? So it's an unbalance of power and influence.
Did you see that a lot with your managers?
I saw it a lot. I saw that we wanted to create an environment that allowed people to talk freely,
Yeah.
but sometimes we would blindly forget that we had the power to influence somebody's life,
Yeah.
right? So if somebody came to you and said, I stole $500, you're like,
500's a little much.
I gotta let you
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, or if I made this mistake, I gotta let you go. But the environment I was walking in was that if people made a little mistake, they were
Yeah.
scared they were gonna lose their job.
Yeah.
And so I had to really figure out how to balance that and start talking to people like people.
Did you look into the outside sources, books, YouTube, anything that was just like,
Yeah,
oh, this little thing I'm actually going to use? And-
So for when it came to leading people and managers specifically, Who Stole My Cheese? It's such a simple book.
Okay. Okay.
The 1 Minute Manager.
Yeah, everybody reads that one.
Like
Yeah.
very small books. And Good to Great. Those are probably the books that I recommend for people
Okay.
when it comes to that. From a spiritual standpoint, it's a book that's older now, and it's called Represent Jesus
Okay.
by Darius Daniels,
Okay.
which was really good because it talked about how do you present Jesus to people in the marketplace through your actions, not your words.
Okay.
Right?
Preach it all. I mean, that goes for a lot of things. You can preach it all day, but
Yeah.
lead by example.
Yeah, Good to Great is talking about being focused on like no more than 3 things if you're trying to do something really great.
Okay. In what fashion?
You
Just
can apply it to anything in life,
okay. All right.
right? Like we all have a limited capacity,
Yeah.
right?
Em and I were talking about that.
And so you can't do everything great.
Yeah.
Like some people can do one thing great, some people can do two things great, right? But you can do like three things good. More than that, you can't.
Yeah, you're gonna be mediocre at
You're
something.
gonna be mediocre
I'm
at
sorry,
something, right?
man.
And so you have to understand like what is the thing I want to be really great at, and what's the things I want to be really good at.
So when I say I want to be the greatest basketball player of all time, you're saying I can do that?
I'm saying that you can be better than what you are.
You're right. I can keep getting better
You can keep getting better,
as my
right? But you
health
have to have
declines.
focus.
Yeah.
You have to have focus, and I think
Mamba mentality.
the other thing I read was this book called Talent. Talent is overrated.
Okay.
And I think that one was probably the best book I've read because it talks about the importance of intentionality behind actions,
Okay.
and it referenced the study of how virtuosos or prodigies,
Okay.
like how someone who's a prodigy, there is a point where they stop being better than everyone else.
So like Mozart was a prodigy.
Mozart was a prodigy, right? And so if you take the state Mozart as an example, science has shown that like a modern day Mozart, from natural talent,
Like Justin Bieber.
yeah, like from natural talent, about 12 is where the difference stops.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you take somebody who is playing the piano consistently or singing consistently and constantly training and bettering themselves, by the time they reach 18, you can't tell the difference between a prodigy and someone that's been practicing consistently over time.
Why did they use 12 outings? I kind of get it because your prodigy.
It's focus. You can start focusing for longer periods of time. You can start
Even
thinking
then,
about
it's
what you
like
want to do.
if you're 12 years old and the best piano player in the world, you are over exceeding anybody's expectations.
Yeah.
Compared to even like a kid today be the best Fortnite player,
Yeah.
kind of a prodigy if you're
Yeah.
7 and the best. So I get what you're saying.
But after you start putting those login hours, and they also put in the caveat that if the person just if the prodigy kept continuing practicing like at the same pace that they were practicing, right? So there's some caveats in that. But I think what he was saying was that there is you can make up for natural ability with intentionality.
I wasn't born.
Go on.
Because sometimes we get stuck in this cycle of I'm not gifted, I'm not able to do, I'm not this, but we're meant to evolve.
Yeah, and
Like
it's
the nature of the human body is
just
meant
like
to
practice.
It's practice.
Yeah.
Right. It is a machine that can adapt the more we practice it.
Yeah.
But we have to be intentional about what we're practicing, right? So if time management is your thing or communication is your thing, that doesn't mean go out and send a bunch of emails, right? It's what part of communicating do I want to get better at?
Within those emails, are you actually saving time?
Yeah. So if it's verbal communication, which part of the oral communication, which part of oral communication do I want to get better at, right? And what are the intentional steps that I can put, and then breaking those down into small, practical, daily practices, and over time you get better.
What do you feel you got better at over 2020? Something that you really wanted to work on, and maybe you had New Year's resolutions or something that...
So I actually don't do New Year's resolutions.
I get it, yep. Totally get it.
Anymore.
Yep.
I think what I wanted to get better at was just being patient.
Okay. Like jump the gun on some things, or...
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily jumping the gun, but just being okay with waiting.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, I struggle with just sitting and listening to music. Or struggling with just, like, not having my phone in my hand. Or needing to be connected.
If you go to the bathroom, do you need your phone in your hand?
Right. But that also comes from that muscle that I had developed from those years of being in
Yep.
retail.
Because you had to. You
You're
use an
always
email.
moving.
Yeah.
You're always moving. You're always doing things. You always had to put something out. You always had to make sure that everyone was moving.
Yeah.
Your value was measured in how much dollars you can get from a square foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Still remember the best Walmart in the world at one point was down in South America.
Yeah.
So the Wally, whatever his name was, went down there, was just measuring spacing and measuring everything. Like, why is this working?
Yeah.
So, but that's the successful mentality.
Successful mentality. And so, figuring out what does that look like now for me
Yeah.
was hard. And even with the church plant, when the church is not the size that we want it to be.
Yeah. So how are you measuring this upcoming goals that you have? What would you say is even measuring your success? Yeah, it's a weird way to
I think part of it
express
is about health, the family. So
Okay.
if my wife is healthy,
Good.
she's happy, if she feels like
Right, any kids?
communicating. So if we feel like we're communicating well, that's an external measurement that you can have
Yeah.
because it's about perception, right? Of how she perceives we're handling things and how she feels,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so
We can say we had the conversation.
you
but
say we
you-
had the conversation, but did it click with you?
Yeah.
Did it touch you? Did you feel like you were heard?
Yep.
Right. So in relationships, your spouse is your best indicator
Okay.
of how well you're doing, because that's that feedback that you need. That's that closing of the feedback loop.
Yeah.
Growth, like, are the people on our team feeling like they're growing
Okay.
on a personal level, spiritual level? Is there some things that they were struggling with that they're like, okay,
And if they're not taking strides toward it, why not?
yeah, if they're not taking strides with it, why not? Like,
Yeah.
understanding, like, what does that look like? Let's ask the question.
Yeah.
Are the teachings clear? Like,
Yeah.
if they're not, is this what you're getting? Are you getting do you feel like you're being seen?
And it does go back to, are you a verbal learner or need work with your hands? That kind
Right.
of
And
thing.
from a personal standpoint, like, what are the things that I want to do?
Yeah.
Right. And so for most of my stuff, I have a quantifiable measure
Okay.
that I can see to determine if I'm where I need to be. And you can even do that in spiritual life, because you can have quantifiable measures
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with that, right? And so it's not just about, am I reading the Bible every day? It's am I willing to take the time to sit and listen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can read words all day, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I am with books. I can listen to podcasts all day
Yeah.
long, but reading for me, even as a kid, I see the words and I'm just like, it's just not clicking. So that's what made me a little worse off in school. But also, school's a whole different subject
Yeah.
of how people learn it. You kind of do have to have a standard.
Yeah.
that
You gotta have
it's
something
not
that
going to
you-
work for everybody.
You gotta have
But,
something that you're looking for, man.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
So, do you have the space in Nashville? Like, is everything?
Yeah, so right now we're at the East Park Rec Center. We record and we air.
Okay.
So we record on Saturdays, we air on Sundays,
Yep.
and then we're in there.
Who's
engaged
editing
with people.
footage? How's that?
I edit.
It's a lot. It's a lot to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so my Saturday is mostly editing, producing, packing and breaking down,
Yep.
all of the whole gamuts that you would think.
I thought you got out of retail so you didn't have to work weekends. We need.
I mean, so I don't mind it, man.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just
kidding.
it's interesting. I've definitely become more tech savvy than I thought I would ever be.
Yep.
So learning how to do microphone feeds, learning how to put reverb and do post edit on vocals, so that if it pitches off, bringing it down, putting limiters on vocals.
And I'm still trying to get in that audio sector too. I may have to pick your brain.
So
'cause-
Audacity is my best friend. It's free,
Yeah.
freeware that you can
Yep.
use, and there's so many tutorials for it.
completely forgot about Audacity. Yeah, because even this, like, you hear all this stuff, it's a nightmare.
So
It's an absolute
you would use
nightmare.
like a lav mic or something to bring it in,
And I've got
pitch
one
your- pitch
in
your
my
vocals.
backpack. It's just, and I've
You're good.
recorded on there too, but
You're good. No, it's fine. So that's like that's what it is right now. We like it because it allows us to give back. if we need to. So if they need
Yeah.
something like painting, need us to do a tutorial session, we can do that.
Yeah.
And you should always try and give to wherever you're at. So
Yeah, and it's another mode to do that. I think I did a paper in college about religiosity of violence, but the more churches that were in a certain area, less violence. So it just, adding another one, it does help statistically. So
yeah, it does.
great.
If they're engaged in the community.
yeah. You can't just be a building.
Yeah, you just can't be a building, but yeah, it
Give me
definitely.
tithe and then go on.
Yeah,
That's-
bring people in, talk to the people, get out, hit the streets if you need to. But yeah, that's where we are, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I used to be a social worker, and I had one guy, a client, who would meet every Friday and Saturday night in a college town, would go to this one parking lot, just hand out Bibles, hot dogs, and water.
Yeah.
Like that was their way of reaching out. Small church, but they
Yeah.
found a way.
Yeah.
Especially for people that were hammered on a Friday and Saturday night. But it's a great time.
I mean, you got to figure out what it is. This goes back to the call,
Yeah.
right? You have to figure out who is it that you're called to serve,
Yeah.
right? And so, I don't have a problem with mega churches. I don't have a problem with small churches.
Yeah.
Because I think that when we look at the body of work, I think we talked about this earlier. Your brain can't do everything in your body.
Yeah.
It sits.
Yeah.
It just sits in your head, right? You
It's-
need arms, and without your arms, you can't do like anything without fingers and toes and all of these things, right? Why are we trying to think that we can impact the world with just one model of church,
You're right.
right? Like,
Some people do the outdoor services.
right,
and, yeah.
like Jesus, the Bible references that we are the body,
Yeah.
right? We're a body, which means that we each have our own function. We each have our own purpose. And
Kind of like the Power Rangers when they all got together. They built.
Yeah, you built the Megazord, right? Like it's
Yep.
the exact same concept. And so you can't
So there's your next sermon. Be the Power Ranger.
be the Power
of-
Rangers. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might use it because I think that you shouldn't box people in,
Yeah.
right? And so there are churches that are called for certain sets of people.
Yeah.
There are churches that are called on to impact on a much larger scale. There are churches that are called to be a place of refuge for people that have been abused by other churches to come
Yeah.
and sit and recover and find out what God is saying. And there are churches where people are called to be seen that have been in larger churches
Yeah.
that feel like they've been forgotten.
Yeah.
And there's a church for all of those things. The one thing that we're all called to is to preach truth.
Yeah.
Right? And so the church is not called to be divisive at all. The church is not called to hurt or harm. The church is called to share life, good news, be a place of refuge, of resource to the community, and hope to the world.
And be a team.
And to be a team.
Yeah.
And the church is not individual.
Yeah. I grew up in the church, father pastor, grandfather pastor. I was a kid, so I can't really say I felt like people were just pieces.
Yeah.
But you still do get some of those larger churches, chitter chatter or
Yeah.
just talking about people, and it doesn't feel right. But that's
Yeah.
also maybe not your church.
Yeah, that's maybe not your church. And, larger churches have resources that smaller churches don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But smaller churches typically have time that larger churches don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like,
They can give you that time to talk. Like, oh, I do have 30 minutes. Come on in.
yeah. And so what I love that I've been seeing a lot in 2020 is how larger churches have been sponsoring smaller churches.
That's awesome.
Right. So they have the financial means
Yeah.
to help a church that maybe not have the financial means to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
But that pastor still has to eat. And so giving them
Yeah.
resources to say, hey, like let us sow, let us give you this
Parsonage.
money.
Yeah, parsonage. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, let
Parsonage
us,
has.
yeah, let us
Thankful.
give you this money so that you guys can keep your doors open so that you can do the work in the community that you need to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like an umbrella ministry. And that's okay too.
Yeah. Especially right now. I mean, you kind of have to.
You have to. You have to.
Okay. I mean, you see the mega church down in Houston with Joel Osteen, and it seems like all the seats are packed out. So if all the small churches close, it's not like you can get more people in those doors.
Right.
You can hold another service, I guess. But yeah, you just, that's how it develops.
Yeah, it's how it develops. And when you think about, people who listen to this might not like what I'm about to say, but he gets a lot of flack.
He does. He does.
He gets a lot of flack. And
Even my dad at one point, I remember saying like, "Yeah, he's a butthole."
yeah,
I don't know if you met him or not, but
yeah, so he gets a lot of flack, right? But what I like to ask people is, think about this. Think about you have a. So first of all, he's doing something right
he's doing.
because of just volume,
Yeah.
right? He's doing something right? The second piece is he doesn't take a salary from his church, so you can't say he's stealing from
Yep.
the church.
Yep.
Right? You can never say that he's stealing from church because he doesn't take a salary from the church.
Is it mainly off appearances? And
Appearances and books.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so all of what he would be getting in the salary
Yeah.
gets reinvested back into the church.
And at some point, you do kind of, especially for a pastor, it's like, how much money do you really need to
Right.
preach the Lord? So it's
Right.
Why even take at his level?
At his level,
why
why
even
would
take one?
But then also think about it. When you're at a church that is over 10,000,
Yeah.
period, even if you're at a church that's over 500,
Yeah.
your budget now is multi-million.
Yeah. If everybody gives $2
Everybody
every
gets
Sunday,
Yeah, you're like in a multi-tier, right? And so now what we have to think about is that you have to think of him not as just a pastor, but you also have to think of him as a CEO.
yeah, oh yeah, he's
Right.
running the entire ship from
Right.
top bottom.
Right, and so if you're not willing to give the same scrutiny to the CEO of Macy's,
Yeah,
Target, Best
Yep.
Buy,
and that, even
and
the,
you praise them for growth.
the guy who runs Goodwill, I think his salary is like 1.2 million a
Right.
year. It's still not for any CEO of a massive retail store. That's not
Right.
anything.
Right,
But he still gets
so,
flack for it.
So if you're willing to congratulate them for growth
Yeah,
and for giving community grants,
yeah,
why are you so quick to criticize the church that we have no idea? But what we do know is that people are being fed, like they're a resource to the community. When they're able to, they can open it up. And even the situation with the hurricane, he got a lot of flack for that.
he did. He did.
At the same time, you have to think, like, if I open up these doors and people get hurt,
You're liable.
we're liable.
Yep.
If the water comes into the building and the building gets damaged,
Yeah.
we're liable.
Yep.
I think the stories came out that their basement was actually flooded, so they had to figure out how
yeah.
to
Yeah.
how to take care of all of these things. So yeah, they had the space, but was it safe?
Yeah.
And would people have been as forgiving to a church that opened doors and, let's say, a woman got raped in there,
Yep.
or a man got raped?
Yep.
Would you have been
There.
Would you have been as forgiving to them as
Yeah.
you were to the Houston Dome?
Yeah, and I think it's just because everybody reacts quickly. And
Yeah.
these days, it's I remember seeing the video of a guy standing outside and just put like, the water's this deep.
Yeah.
And they probably by this point, Houston, I don't think it's a ton
Yeah.
of hurricanes. But now they'll probably put into place, if it is safe, maybe they can partner with the
Yeah.
Red Cross and do this kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if you're people listening. I'm like, what is he talking about? I think it's just
Going into it about it being growth and good, I did watch a podcast where this one expert, don't even remember his name, was like the difference between cult and religion, sorry if this offends you, is that religion has time under its belt and has proven that it's beneficial. Mm-hmm. So, of course, there's plenty of cults, there's plenty of religions, but, Christianity is a religion. It's been proven to be beneficial no matter if you think it's correct or not. It's there for a reason.
I mean, and so Christianity started out. So Christianity didn't start out as a religion.
Yeah.
which is what is interesting, right?
Yeah.
And so, well, I'll preface that in the eyes of the Roman Empire, it was a cult.
Mm-hmm.
For the very early parts of Christianity, it was considered.
It was passed down to a certain sects of people.
Yeah, it was considered a cult. And what ended up happening was, through martyrdom, people started wondering, like, what is this thing that people believe in so much that they're willing to give their life for?
Yeah.
Right? And not complain about giving their life for it.
Yeah.
And as they saw that conviction of the people, like, constantly getting persecuted and giving their life, but it couldn't stop the movement.
It was still.
It took legs and it started spreading and growing and moving forward, right? And that's the difference.
Yeah, it was like, I am willing to help my community based on this belief because I believe in it so much.
It is. And it was, it bridged the gap. The danger of Christianity was that it bridged the gap between the wealthy and the economically challenged.
Less fortunate, yeah.
Less fortunate. Like, that was the danger of Christianity.
What do you mean bridge gap?
Well, so it bridged the gap because what ended up happening, especially in the early times, was you would have people of means, mostly women of means, hear these messages that said that they had value outside of just serving in the household.
Yeah.
And so then they would come down from their high places and start going to these meetings in other people's houses, and then start inviting everyone else to their house to hear the gospel that was being preached.
Okay.
And so you had the heiress and the servant listening to the same gospel, eating off of the same plates, seeing each other as people.
Yeah.
And so it literally was a danger to the hierarchy of the Roman Empire.
I mean, you're right. It was breaking bread with one another.
It's breaking bread with one another, right?
Yeah.
And so, like,
and the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Right? And so the thing that we have to make sure is that the danger is when we have churches that are elite churches or elitist mentality.
Yeah.
Instead of sticking to the model of it's all.
Yeah. And you don't see too many of those churches. Like, you'll see on perhaps that one channel that has that old guy. I don't know, I forget his name.
Yeah, you don't see it spoken.
Yeah. I actually watched a movie 2 nights ago called The Devil All the Time on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's about the old school 50s, 60s, pastor, and you got the young pastor that kind of, this is my church and it's my town type of thing. But I don't feel that as much anymore, and especially as I think 2020 was a weird wake-up call for that sector.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how it's going to go forward, because I do see the...
How you doing, bro?
I do see the statistics of what America's going to look like in that sector going forward.
Yeah.
We just got to wait and see. I don't know. So what's been your release of dopamine for 2012? And not stressing out.
So I'm a gamer.
Okay, I thought you said gambler. I was like, no, it's good.
No. I'm a gamer. I play Mortal Kombat.
Okay. When do they have a new one coming out? It's been like 10 years.
So I think
It's probably been like 7 years, I feel like.
No, the last one came out 3 years ago. So it's on Mortal Kombat 11 now. So I'm a.
I just had an expansion pack with Sylvester Stallone, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I have it. I play it. So that just came out 2 months ago. But
I
so I'm a big gamer. I'm online playing against people, beating them up.
Somebody's got to do it.
I play a lot of games, actually.
Go down the list, because
I play Madden. I play
Okay.
NBA.
Okay.
I used to play Call of Duty. I'm not a big fan of Call of Duty anymore. I'm more of a fighting game guy.
Okay.
And then I lift weights. I just got back into lifting, and I figured.
Where are you going?
Fitness 1440. So it's in
Okay.
off of Metroplex Road. So I go there, lift there, and that's a big stress reliever for me. It just allows my mind to get clear.
I get it.
And I think I just started working out with people. Most times I don't. Most times I throw on my headphones and just lift and go from there. So
I agree. I went this week with my roommate to work out, and it's just, for me, it slows me down. Either you speed me up or slow me down. If you slow me down, I'm just not going with you again. But there's also a nice feeling to have that partner.
it is. So I like working out by myself because I like the ability to get into my thoughts.
Yep.
And to just think.
Meditation.
Meditation. Sometimes I'll plan a sermon
Yeah.
while I'm in there. But then when I work out with people, it's the competitive nature that
Yeah.
comes out.
Yep.
And so I like that. And so I probably go to a hybrid model now of doing probably 2 days by myself and 3 with someone else.
Yeah.
So
So I definitely get it. I even had an ex break up with me once because I worked out too much.
hey, listen,
You know, that's my release.
it is. It is.
So you game. I love playing 2K. I'm really good at it. Good luck beating me.
So you what system?
So I don't have a system right now. I play on my roommates. I sold mine 2 years ago because I just got tired of it. I wasn't finding any benefit to it anymore, and I was bored. I was also playing by myself, which didn't help. But I'm waiting for the new Halo to come out, and then I'll
So you're
get
an
new
Xbox
Xbox.
guy.
I will be. My most recent one was PlayStation, but other than Halo, I don't really care which one. They both play the same games.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, 2K's huge for me. Madden, it just felt like the same thing over and over every year.
It is.
So
I would agree. I actually started playing Madden to talk to my little brother. To break down barriers to talk to my little brother.
nice,
And now I play it to break down barriers to talk to my nephew.
nice.
So there's a study that came out in U.S. News a couple of years ago that talked about one of the best ways for parents to engage with their children was through video games.
Were you able to do that with your parents growing up?
So yes and no. So my dad on Christmas we would have this thing where on Christmas they would buy me a game and then he would sit and play.
I must have died. Maybe. Yeah, that's upsetting. I don't know why it turned off. I've got everything recorded here, so at least I got it. But oh well, I hadn't done that before. Yeah. So, were you able to play games with your parents growing up?
Oh yeah. I mean, my dad we used to play. I would say probably like I don't know. When I turned like 15, 16, I stopped getting interested in games.
Get that?
And I was just focusing on college. In college, I didn't play games, so it was a very short window when I played with them. And then after college, I just needed something to do with my time.
Yeah.
You know? But I also couldn't justify putting money in the system.
Yep.
And so for a long time in my life, I was on a fixed budget.
Yep.
And so to spend $300-400 on a system, I can never
Then
find
$60 games.
I can never find the money to save to put $300-400
Yep.
to the side
Yep.
for a
To
system,
a leisure thing,
to a leisure thing.
because that can go a long way.
Yeah, and so I just could never figure out how to do it, and so I just did without it.
Yeah. I agree on the fact that it definitely helps bring people together, and there was that stigma in like the early 2000s, late 90s, where our video games killing your children type headlines.
Yeah, so I do think that like I think there is I think it does. It can desensitize you to violence,
Yes, very much so.
right? Which is kind of why I pulled back on Call of Duty.
Yeah,
It was just starting to get too real. And
You're in wars.
it's looking
Right there.
It's looking too real. And I think with the PS5 it'll be even more realistic, and the Xbox, right?
Or the Oculus, you know,
Or the
you put it over.
Yeah, and so I pulled back on playing that. But I play games like Mortal Kombat because it's not real.
It's sci-fi.
It's
Yeah.
sci-fi. As much gore as they have. Now I will say it is a little awkward with like Rambo and RoboCop and all those
Okay.
the humanoid, looking players.
Yep.
It's a little bit weirder to play with that.
Yep.
But
What's
I
the
don't play
fatality
those.
for Rambo?
It's very violent.
All right. Figured.
It's very violent. I think he
You like a little on the sweeter side?
I want to say he shoots a net, and a net comes down. It's like a net wall, and he kicks you into it, and then he picks up like a Gatling gun or something.
Yeah.
And like just shoots you until you like fall through the net, and then catch your body. So it's very gory.
Very gory. So he just captures you in a net. And-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And messes you up pretty bad.
I figured, because I saw the clip, or just the clip of him with the gun, so I was like, okay, it's.
It's very interesting.
I wasn't sure if you pull it up there or not.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, that's me.
Well, right on. So everybody's healthy. Everybody's good.
Yeah.
My last question is, if you were to take a picture, I'm calling this thing "I took a picture"
Yeah.
of 2020 and it captured your very favorite moment of 2020, what would be on that picture?
Oh man.
You put it on the wall. Just put it right there.
I actually think it would be headline clippings. I think it would be the clipping of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, dealing with issues dealing with the presidential election, coronavirus.
So just a pile of newspapers.
Pile of newspapers, and then I would probably put somewhere on there hope.
Okay. Okay.
So I did like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This your regular.
If anything's going to encapsulate 2020, it's. You're right. It's just the headlines. As many bad things that are attributed to those headlines, so much good came out of it.
Yeah, I don't think that 2020. I don't think the headlines in 2020 are that much different than the headlines from other years. I think we just had the time to sit and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so instead of being
Reflect.
on the go,
Yeah.
we had to sit and deal with. So this is what's happening in America.
It wasn't read the headline, I got to go back to work. It's read the headline, then read the same headline, read the same headline.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was a show that I saw on Netflix called Beyond the Wire 2 days ago. And then more after watching it, and I was thinking about it, and it's about this robot who looks like a human that's been created to be like this really efficient war machine.
Okay.
And he is, I think they're stationed in Afghanistan, and essentially what happens is like this drone pilot makes a decision against orders, kills a lot of people, and his punishment is to go into the field to see the work. And throughout the movie, he's like encountered like people who've been impacted by his decisions.
Okay.
Right, so families that have lost their homes, children that are now orphans. And this whole time, this robot that's an AI that's meant to be like an American soldier,
Yeah.
he is learning. And his thing is that he learns as he goes, and he's able to make decisions. And at the end of it, he realizes like my existence is a danger to the entire world. And so I want to sacrifice myself.
Was it the only one?
He's the only one like him.
Okay.
Special prototype. And he kept saying like, I need to fix my creator. I need to fix my creator. And he said something that struck me. He was like, as long as people never understand that there are consequences, we'll always have endless wars.
Okay.
As long as you never have to face the consequences of your actions, you'll always have endless wars.
Or you can just press a button.
You just press a button and see things, and you can just send a machine into another country and see things.
Or send our military men, these fresh out of high school.
Yeah, and send it. You'll never. And I think that for as a country, one thing that we haven't done is we haven't seen the consequences of our own actions.
Yeah.
Right, not even talking about war, but just from a civil standpoint. We haven't had to sit.
So when you read all those headlines and now those cops can reflect.
You're seeing the consequences.
Yeah.
Right? And you're seeing the consequences. The storming of the Capitol is America dealing with the consequences of denying all of the other things that have happened.
Yeah.
It's not a one-off. It is a gradual pile-on of affirming bad behavior and then watching that bad behavior come back around.
It's so hilarious to see all those people think they're not going to get in trouble. Like, it's storming a federal Capitol building. And then...
Right, but it did
we all did it. It's fun.
It did so many things to so many people, right? Like, think about the psychology of that storming of the Capitol. Because it was everything that people said that they loved about America being attacked by the people who say that they love America more than anyone else.
That's what's crazy.
Right?
I would never expect the right-leaning to do that.
Right?
I'd expect them to be more efficient and do it like they did.
Right.
Because, I mean, the left-leaning did the Portland. You know, they got part of the city, but it was a complete mess. The right-leaning didn't. I don't know.
So think about it. We had police hurt, injured.
And killed.
We had a blatant denial of police authority. We have a blatant denial of political authority. We had attempt to dismantle the very Constitution.
Yep. The process that we set in place.
Right? And destroying the historical building.
That alone, I mean, that's originally why it's called... No. I was about to go to the White House because it was black. It was burnt down, I think. But different building. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And so when you see all of that, you know, and that movie just... It resonated so much with me, not because about the war thing, but about the understanding of the consequences of what we do.
Yeah.
And how we should, as we're walking through life, we shouldn't just walk through life like just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
We should walk through life with intention.
Yeah. And I think it's tough for a lot of people too when it's all about how you're raised, period. You know, no matter where you're at, how you're raised in the most Christian household or the least Christian household. Some people don't have the tools. Like even this year, I'm taking it differently. I'm starting this thing. I set out, they weren't resolutions because I did like 17 of them. Yeah. Big poster board in my room because this is the way I want to live, but with intent. Yeah. So I agree. And no matter how right or wrong those right-leaning people were storming the Capitol building, they were fighting for what they believed in. Yeah. Like you give them credit for doing what they felt was right and following through with it, no matter how dumb of a thing it was. But I agree. Just keep spreading that message.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Keep killing those people in Mortal Kombat.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah. Who's your character of choice if you're in a tournament?
Well, I have a trifecta.
Okay.
You know, I play. So I pick up characters and play with them for 2 seasons before I consider them. So I'm a Cassie Cage. Now I'm a Melina.
Okay.
Nightwolf. And RoboCop.
Okay, so RoboCop's really savage.
He's a zoner. Like,
okay.
You know what I mean when I say zoner?
Uh-oh.
So it's like, you know, it's like when you're in a fight and the person just keeps throwing things at you, and you can never get in to hit them.
Yeah.
Like, so he's a zoner.
Okay. Yeah, he just keeps you out of the zone.
Yeah, he keeps you out of arm's reach, and he just
Just a little pistol?
He has a pistol, and I don't know what you call it, the big guns that come down.
Yeah.
But he has one of those. And so, people come in, you can kick them, and you push them back like half screen, and then you just shoot them. He's a very annoying character to play against.
What's his weakness? Just up close as soon as you get there?
Yeah, speed. He's not as fast as the other characters.
Okay.
Right? And so, if you can get close and like have faster jabs than him.
Yeah.
The issue is once he has a chance to push a button, all of his moves pushes distance between you and him. So they call it negative on block. It's a strategy, man.
There's definitely strategy in it. You're either a button masher or you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
I used to always play with the girl with the bumblebees around her.
Oh, Devora.
Yeah. She was always just easy to play with if you're just picking it up.
She's a really good character, but a lot of people don't play with her. A lot of people play with Liu
Too
Kang.
OP?
A lot of people play Liu Kang. I think she's too hard for a lot of people to master.
Okay.
Because once you figure out like a couple of her moves, you can beat her easily. But she's a zoner too. So
Okay. Yeah. And that was part of it. It's just keep you away.
She's a zoner. And then some characters they call them like intellect. You have to have a high intellect to play with certain characters like
For counters and everything.
Yeah, to understand the game, like some character, you can't just pick up Cassie Cage and play with Cassie Cage. Like you can't just pick her up. You gotta sit and play with her. Melina, you can't just pick up. You gotta sit and play with her.
So that's the tough part, learning all those moves. Your brain's just wired differently to.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a reflex.
Yeah, but I'm not good at combos. I'm not good at doing like the 20-hit combos. Like some guys are really good at that, but you again practice with intention. You literally have to go into what they call the lab, and you sit for hours and you just keep redoing the same move over and over and over and over. And so what I've realized is that when I play against people like that, I may do like a 5 or 6 hit combo. At most of 12. And reset. But what I learned is that with somebody who can do like a 20 hit combo on you, or a combo that takes 50% of your damage, chances are that's the only combo they know how to do. And so they only know how to do that string. They only know how to they don't know how to cancel the string.
They've mastered it for sure.
They've mastered that
but
string.
It's going to stop once you figure it out.
Right. But they haven't figured out how to counter. They haven't figured out how to do anything else except that one string. And so for me, I do mix-ups. And so I may only get 12, but I may come in
4 times.
4 times, I may come in and jab you twice and then do a parry on you. Or I may do the parry and do a low kick and a high attack. Or I may have you thinking I'm going to do the exact same thing and then just walk up to you and do 3 throws back to back.
It's like, kudos, watch this.
So you get in their mind and then they're trying to figure out, okay, so now I'm trying to do this combo again, and then you recognize what the combo starter looks like. And you keep them away from you.
Now, the new hot game right now is Among Us. Have you played any of that?
I haven't.
Okay. You can get it in your phone on any device, period.
Really?
Yeah. It's, you're just trying to figure out who killed you. It's free on your phone. That's the quick thing I play for 5 minutes, like 5-minute games. And then you're either the imposter or a crewmate, just trying to kill people and just move on and not get caught. And then you have a voting thing. It requires conversation with strangers or friends. It's pretty cool.
That's dope.
Check it out. Definitely good for getting your tires rotated and just playing.
Listen, I'll check it out. So how have you been?
I've been good.
I know we're not on your podcast, but
no, we're just chilling. I mean, this thing is this. I don't know when I'll edit it. This will be like 4th or 5th episode. So it's just been nice to talk to people.
We should probably redo it. You're gonna have horrible audio in this.
Oh, well, that's part of it. Because I do it at the farmers market, so it's like loud things everywhere. But I'm starting it. The thing was to start it, and then figure it out from there. But
let me know. So how you been, man?
I've been good. I've been chilling. I haven't worked since July.
Oh, yeah, because you're doing the road stuff.
So which that's done. I mean, I haven't talked to them in months. I started a new job as a health coach on February 1st. And then...
How do you like that?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you start on February 1st.
Yep.
You can tell the story. You lost the weight.
I have. But that's mostly just because I can cook at home every day. I'm not working. So it's like lunch, I'm making eggs and spinach every day. Yeah, it's working from home on the phones all day, so I don't know how I like that because I'm a people person. I love to get up and moving. So we'll see. It's temporary. I'll give it a few months and then start searching again. The hardest part of 2020 for me was getting told no so many times applying for jobs. Yeah. I've been able to get a job within 1 or 2 interviews, but now I just don't hear from people. I'll put in 10 a day for weeks at a time and get 1 interview. It's nuts.
So where are you with the thing last time we talked? Church was kind of, you were done. You were like,
so
you're like, I'm done with this. That's not for me.
So I was done with that a long time ago. In college, watching documentaries, discussing with certain types of people, I figured out things that I just don't believe are real. Not saying it's not beneficial, not anything. Some people definitely need it more than others, especially if they don't have any direction. But yeah, it's just not a thing I subscribe to. I click to unsubscribe and stuff.
Is it the institution, the message, the God piece of it? Which piece?
Institution's fine. The God piece of it.
The God piece of it.
When I look up there, I see the galaxy. That's what I see.
So you are agnostic.
Atheist.
Atheist.
I tried the agnostic thing, but atheist. That there's really like atheist is still saying I don't know. Just show me proof. You know, agnostic is saying I don't know. Atheist is just saying show me proof. One conversation I had was you and I have a ton in common.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're probably atheistic towards every other religion other than your own. I just take it one step forward and say yours as well.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, so I think the cool thing about that, you might be the first person I met that's considered themselves an atheist, actually. So a lot of people don't want to come out, but also down in the South, there's not many. But it also doesn't bother me.
I hope not. I mean, we're good people.
No, it doesn't bother me. I think Robbie, have you heard Robbie Zachariah?
Heard the name. May have read is that like a CNN anchor or something?
No, so he's an apologist. He just died.
I'm thinking of Fareed Zachariah.
Last year. He just died last year. And he started out Hindu. Then after Hinduism moved to, he was an atheist for several years. And then he ended up being like the leading figure on apologetics, which is the defending of the faith, right? The defending of the gospel.
Okay.
How do we prove that God is who God is?
Yeah.
That God is real.
And that's really just my thing.
Yeah.
You prove it,
how do we prove it? And he talks about the journey of how he had to walk and get through there. And he said what is so interesting, the thing that he said changed his life is this book called Pilgrim's Journey. Have you heard of that? This is super old. It's so old. Like, you're talking like 1490, I think is when the book was first written. And
Pilgrim's Journey is about just like Pilgrim's Journey and
it's about this guy named
faith?
Pilgrim. So
Okay,
you think it's
all
about
right.
pilgrims, but it's about this guy named Pilgrim.
We name our kids Earl, but we won't name him Pilgrim
It's
anymore.
about this guy named Pilgrim, and it's literally talking about his journey through life, and not so much faith, just through life, and how as he's doing life, he understands like who God is, and understanding what does it mean to have faith, and all this. It's been one of my read logs that I wanted to read for a while. But then Dr. Caroline Leaf, a neurologist. Have you heard of her?
Uh-uh.
You like her. So she's a neurologist.
Carolina Reef?
Caroline Leaf.
Leaf, okay.
She writes this book called Switch on Your Brain, and it's talking about, she does cognitive neuroscience.
Okay.
And so she was talking about how we can train our brains to do certain things and stop old habits, and how habits come from behaviors and past hurts.
Yep.
But she uses, she talks about how instead of scripture proving science, science is now proving scripture to be true. Like it is the opposite of how we think things are. And that there is not, that this tension that is between science and religion shouldn't be. Like it should be a harmony between the two. And I don't know how true the stat is, but her last stat was that 90% of neuroscientists now believe in the existence of God.
Okay.
Because of the inability to completely map the human mind. And the way in which everything is and the detail that it's taken in the body and all of these things, that they're like, this had to be some type of supernatural creation.
Yes, and I hear that. And to me, lack of evidence doesn't mean, okay, God did it. Mm-hmm. That's what I hear when you say that. And that's where it's like, yeah, lack of evidence doesn't mean that there's just... So, since we don't know, then this thing did it.
I never think that is lack of evidence. So
Yeah,
I see that as evidence.
And that's where we did.
If we can't prove something, right? So I think also part of it depends on like what. So if you can't prove somebody did a murder, it means that they didn't do the murder. Not necessarily. It just means that we can't prove that they didn't do the murder.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
You know,
but
OJ is a great example of that.
Great example. At least there was a glove.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I think that's just where we differ in a way.
So pray. Well, do you pray? So do you meditate?
The gym is huge for that. And then now I started keeping a journal. I've always been very mentally stable. Like I don't get worked up over a lot of things. I can be overworked and not realize it, and then realize, Yeah. But I've always been very level-headed. But the thing that opened up what seemed like a rainbow to me and is being an atheist, and then black and white was very religion for me, and I much enjoyed the rainbow, and that's just how it felt to me once I realized some things clicked. And I've got a few documentaries if you want to look into them, but it's...
So who is hi. So how did your family react to that?
I don't tell the grandparents, because I do respect them and I love them and I don't want to break their heart. So I just kind of let that be. Mom gets it, Dad gets it, they know. Sister gets it. Yeah.
Just kind of like let live.
Yeah, and even my dad and I haven't talked about it, and I think we will at some point because he was a pastor. He's no longer anymore. We'll get to Mom. She knows. She don't care. I think she's along the same views. She's really into the Buddhist teachings. She likes reading that stuff. But no, it's just the grandparents. That's where I'm not doing that. They only got like 2 minutes left. Yeah. So yeah, that's
interesting. No, I don't.
Pick my brain. Go for it.
Oh, I don't have time to pick your brain today.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna.
Yeah, I'm glad we can do
again.
2.0.
No, I think it's cool. I guess I have a different approach than a lot of people. Like I have so many different ways to see things, because I think that a lot of times, I think faith is a journey. I think it's a path that you talk, you have conversations, and no one has ever come to God by condemnation, or even believed in God to condemnation. Like, I think that is something that, when it comes to ministry, if there's one thing I think that has been done wrong, is the condemning and rebuking of people.
If you force anything, it's not going to be.
Yeah. So, and even in scripture, we see that, like, when we see correction. Let's use that, correction in scripture. It's not to those who don't believe. Like, if you like literally look at text for what it is, those examples of when Christ talks about it, when Paul talks about it, Peter, they're already talking to people that are supposed to be like-minded. So they're talking to the Jewish administrator.
You're already familiar with it.
Yeah, you're already familiar with it. You understand. You're supposed to be like, you're saying that you're living by the same principles that we're living by, but you're not living by the same principles we're living by.
So when you take the Bible and you put it in a third world country, and they take it literally, more than people, because they are not familiar with it, that's where things can get dangerous, because we're kind of seeing it, especially when it comes to the homosexuality and that kind of thing. And where's your muffin?
Yeah, so I think that's when you take your own interpretation and put it on text, that it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes, agreed.
And I think that
we can go into what's the Baptists, the super crazy...
Yeah, Southern Baptists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's when you took your own scripture and put it on text. But, a lot of countries, Christianity was there long before.
Any
it's
been
these
around.
countries, right?
Yeah.
So researchers come out that show that Christianity was even in China during the early 792s, and so
there's also a lot of things where, with the documentary I saw, how similar all the religions are and why so many pieces line up together. Because like
the story of Gilgamesh in the Old Testament, the story of all of these
even
things.
just Jesus Christ, there's so many, there's just a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and so again, my point to that is I always like to... Two things about me. One, I always have a hard time looking at historical facts through current situations. Like, I think sometimes we take historical facts and try to look at them through the modern lens. And I'm like,
I get what you're saying, yeah.
You missed the whole, right? And so...
Things change.
Things changed. And my first year of Vanderbilt was really difficult for me. Because I was hearing all of these things about, like, how Genesis was very similar to the story of Gilgamesh and the Babylonian fables and myths and whatnot. And I was like, there's no denying, some of these stories are very similar. It's very, very similar. And then at the same time, I'm like, but I don't know, and we can't say which piece came from which.
Yeah, because we weren't there,
It's not even that we weren't there, it's the fact of writing, right? And so when we think about how most of the stories were passed down, and we think about where most of this, especially when we're talking about most of the religions came from the Middle East area.
Yeah.
That we're talking about, with the exception of a couple of them, like Buddhism.
Yep.
Right.
Which I think is the oldest.
So
technically,
those were right there.
Yep.
And everyone talked.
Yeah, which goes into what I was trying to convey earlier. So many of those different religious leaders, such as Jesus Christ, Krishna, whatnot, born of a virgin birth, all had 12 disciples or something like that. They were so many that had the same thing.
We come back for lunch together, huh?
Love it.
So yeah, that was another thing within that documentary I'd watched that was just like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, send me the link. I'd love to watch it.
Yeah. The beginning of it is a little fear-mongering, and I will say, like, something's not right here. But it's free on YouTube. I watched it 8-9 years ago. But regarding it, there's a huge misconception, at least in the South as well, about atheists, and that we're Marxists, and we're just like, we have no... Where do we base our morals off of? And my answer to that is culture.
So that's the thing that Robbie Zacharias said. That's where I was drawing that list. What it caught me was he said, everyone has beliefs, right? And so even if you are atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, whatever you are, you have beliefs. There's no such thing as a person without beliefs.
Yes.
Because by you saying that you don't believe in God, that is a belief. Like
Yep.
the very mention of that, right?
I believe caramel's going to give me sugar and diabetic heart
So
attack.
we all have beliefs, so there's no such thing as a person without beliefs. The thing that we miss is understanding what it is that people believe and trying to understand how do we have a conversation about it so we both gain clarity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so his whole
Where
point
we have that understanding.
right. And so his whole point is that, again, he's like, you're never going to get someone by telling them. And he also talks about the engaging with people who are atheists or agnostic, right?
Yes.
And the importance of
Huge
being,
disconnect there.
Well, the importance of being understanding,
Yeah.
and because what you're doing now is you're dealing with a different level of intellect.
Because it's not that I'm following a different religion and maybe it's just a different thing. It's the fact that it's none at all. And that's where a lot of people have an issue.
Right.
Talking
So
about.
you're probably more well versed in other religions than an everyday Christian. Right?
Yeah.
And understanding. And so someone coming to you and saying, hey, Hayden, don't you see, like, God is real because the sky is blue?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a really good argument
Agreed.
for you why God
And that's your argument, and that's
is
how
real,
you believe, and that's
right?
fine. I had one tell me, well, have you ever had a child? Because having a child alone shows you that God is real. I'm like, cows have children every day, and we slaughter them for meat. So what are you really saying, is your proof? But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so I think, like, yeah, let's just keep talking. Listen,
I agree.
who knows? I'm not here to convince you or convert
Yeah,
you. I'm just
yeah,
here to be in community.
The whole thing's just to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And let people are going to make their own decisions either way.
People will make their own decisions. Yeah. And, that's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. So we'll get together in a month. See.
Let's do it. Let's connect.
Cool.
Who knows? We're going to do like Travis.
Maybe do it at your church too.
Yeah. We'll see.
What do you got planned for the week?
Well, right now I'm headed to a lunch to talk to one of our musicians to see how he's doing, make sure that he's healthy mentally, and then